Hello everyone, I am Akhilesh Kumar Srivastava from ABS Engineering College, Ghaziabad. In the series of operating system lectures, we were discussing about the process synchronization. We have seen several mechanisms by which we can find out the solution to the synchronization problem. We have seen with the help of the lock variable, how can the synchronization be achieved among the cooperating and the competing processes. Then we have discussed about the lock and the turn variable, wherein we were achieving the bounded waiting, but we were not achieving the progress property. Finally, we have seen the Peterson's algorithm, that was a two process solution which was providing all four supports or the expectations that we were having from the synchronization problems. In today's lecture, we will discuss about the solution which does not have a busy waiting, because in the earlier all the solutions, the busy waiting solutions was found, and during the search of the entry to the critical section problems or critical sections, a process was kept busy continuously. So, let us start with today's lecture. The outline would be that we will first have a look at the cooperating and the competing processes, then we shall see the need for the synchronization. We shall have the focus on how the solutions have worked in the previous lectures. Then we will discuss about the without busy waiting solution, and we will also see that only providing the without busy waiting is not the support or the solution that we are expecting. Then we have a semaphore solution that is working as per our expectations. So, now let us have a recap of the cooperating and the competing processes. There is a process P which generates, there is a process P I that produces some output, and the output of the P I process is consumed by some process P j. That means, P I process and P j process are the cooperating process. We need to organize the P I and the P j process such that the P I process happens first, such that some items are produced, and P j process takes later, such that the output produced by the P I process is being consumed by the P j process. Similarly, we can take an example of the competing process, wherein there is a competition for accessing of the shared resources or shared variable. For example, if there is a printer and there are multiple processes which are trying to access to this printer, then we cannot allow all the processes to take advantage of this printer at the same time. So, we apply some weight for the other processes, or we have some mechanisms by which we can restrict the other processes to access to the printer when one process is already accessing the printer. So, all those processes which are trying to access to the printer at the same time or concurrently will be said to be the competing processes. So, the cooperating and the competing processes, there are certain situations where we see the system as the cooperating, but actually they are competing. For example, in the first example that we took, that the P I process is producing some output and P j is consuming that item, then all the items produced by the P I process is kept in some buffer, and that buffer is used for taking an item for the P j process. So, these two processes are trying to access to the same buffer, and the buffer access or access to the buffer should be mutually exclusive. It means, when P I process is accessing the buffer, P j process should not use that buffer. It means, there is a competition between P I and the P j process for accessing the buffer. Now, the process interaction, whenever we are trying to access to the buffers, there will be a problem of accessing the count of the number of the elements those are there in the buffer. So, we need to update the count by 1. It means, increment in the count when an item is produced and kept in the buffer, and when an item is consumed from the buffer, this count is reduced by 1, such that, let us say with an example, if 6 items were there in our buffer, if I produce another item, the counting will increase to 7, and when I consume an item, the counting will reduce to 6. So, we should have some mechanisms by which the count plus plus and count minus minus, which are the shared variables, are accessed in the mutually exclusive way. It means when producer process is accessing this, the consumer process should not access the same resource at the same time. So, we have seen also in the last turns, when we divide this count plus plus or count minus minus into the statements of assembly language, there are 3 statements which needs to be performed or 3 statements that needs to be written. If we allow the preemptions to take place in between for those statements, then inconsistent value may be there. So, we should restrict our access to this variable such a way that all 3 statements do run for the first process, and then all 3 statements do run for the second process. So, the preemptions should not take place in between, that is what our requirement is. Now, let us have a look at once again whatever we have discussed today. A cooperating process is one that can affect or be affected by the other processes executing in the system. The cooperating process can either directly share a logical address space, that is both the code and the data. Code is also the address space and data is also the address space. Data is also there in the address space, but this is done through the threads. We have already seen with the example of the thread that how can this be done. If we are accessing to the files or the messages, that is also sharing of the data. So, concurrent access to the shared data may result in the data inconsistency that we already have seen in the previous slide. So, here in these lectures we have discussed about the various mechanisms by which the data inconsistency can be removed. Now, whenever the shared data is used by a piece of the code, we say that that piece of the code where the shared data is used is known as the critical section, and we can have access to that shared variable at multiple place in the same program. So, there can be multiple critical sections in the same program. So, the critical section is the region or the part of the code where the shared variables are used or shared resources are used. All the other parts are non-critical sections. So, to prevent the access to the critical section by only one of the process, we apply some entry conditions for accessing the critical section. If the entry conditions are satisfied, then only the critical section entry is allowed, otherwise the critical section entry is not allowed. When the conditions are satisfied, we enter to the critical section, means the process enters the critical section, and while exiting the critical section, those conditions which have been applied for entering the critical section have been or would be removed. For example, if you are taking a lock variable, let us say lock equals to 0 means the critical section entry is allowed. While entering the critical section, set the lock value as 1, and while exiting the critical section, set the value of lock again as 0, so that other process can also enter the critical section. Now, we have discussed about these solutions in the previous lectures. We have seen the use of the lock variable. We have seen that when we are setting up the lock as 0, or we are checking the condition if lock is equals to 0, then only enter the critical section, then this can be divided into the piece of the code, and those piece of the code written in the assembly language requires no preemptions to take place in between. But if we allow the preemptions to take place in between, multiple processes can enter the critical section at the same time. So, since multiple processes can enter through to the critical section at the same time, it means we are not able to achieve the mutual exclusion. The mutual exclusion is the basic thing that we want to achieve. If more than one process is able to go into the critical section, it means the mutual exclusion is not satisfied. So, the lock variable was not able to satisfy the condition of the mutual exclusion. Then we have used the TSL, by which we were ensuring that the 2 statements do take place at the same time. If I clearly remember what we were doing, we were loading the value of the lock in some, let us say R0 variable, and then we were setting a value 1 in the lock. So, these were the 2 statements which were required to take place at the same time. In case we apply the preemptions to take place in between the 2 statements, we will not achieve the mutual exclusion. So, to achieve the mutual exclusion, we were allowing these two statements to take place in one go. And if you are doing so, it means we need a hardware solution for this. A software cannot allow two statements to take place at the same time. If you are running in the user mode, there is no way we can allow the two statements to take place at the same time. So, what we will do, we will make a hardware and we will fabricate these two statements in that. So, every time there is a request to the critical section, the process will go through that hardware and then only the entry to the critical section be allowed. So, since this is the hardware solution, this was not an acceptable one, and moreover it was satisfying the mutual exclusion, it was satisfying the progress property, but it was not satisfying the bounded weight, and it was not architectural neutral because it is a hardware solution. A hardware solution can never be the architectural neutral. So, the two properties were satisfied, but two were not satisfied in this case. We were taking a use of the strict alteration. In the strict alteration scheme, which is a software solution, we were taking a turn variable, and it is a two process solution generally. When the turn is 0, the process number 0 can enter the critical section. When turn is 1, process number 1 can enter the critical section. We have seen that when a process executes, it makes the chance of the other process to enter to the critical section. It means that it is allowing the other process, or it is very generous to allow the other process to enter to the critical section after its execution. It means we are able to provide the bounded weighting in this case. Now, it was mutually exclusive solution, but at the same time, when a process is not interested in entering to the critical section, even if it is the turn of that process will not allow itself and the other process also to enter the critical section. It means if turn is 0, process number 0 can enter to the critical section. When critical section execution completes, it makes the turn as 1. It means process number 1 can enter the critical section. But let us say process number 1 is not interested in entering to the critical section, then it will neither execute its code nor will set this turn as 0. So, P1 is not interested, P1 is not going into the critical section. It is not making turn as 0, it means P0 can also not go into the critical section. They are in the indefinite lock. So, this process or this solution or the strict alteration solution was not a good solution for us. So, when we have used the interest variable, use of the interest variable, it means that why should the code be such that we are allowing the other process to enter the critical section? Why not the process which is interested should make its interest or should show its interest? So, based on that, we have discussed about the use of interest variable, and we have seen that with the help of the interest variable, the system can go into the deadlock. So, we do not want the deadlock to take place, hence we have discussed about the Peterson solution, which was actually overcoming all the problems that we have seen so far. And the Peterson solution was making use of the turn variable and the interest variable as well. And since we were using these two variables, turn and the interest variable, we were taking the interest of a process which wants to enter the critical section, and then we are allowing the alteration to also take place. So, bounded weight is there because the alteration is there, and we are providing the interest of a process, or we are taking the interest of a process before entering to the critical section, means the progress property is also satisfied. The mutual exclusion will certainly be there, and since this is a software solution, so architectural neutrality is also there. So, the Peterson solution was able to provide all 4 supports, or all 4 properties is satisfied by the Peterson solution that we were expecting. But the problem with all these solutions is that all these solutions mentioned from starting to the end is using the busy waiting kind of the concept. Busy waiting means if there is a dressing room and one person wants to enter to the critical section or the dressing room, he keeps knocking at the door of the dressing room. So, it is very irritating for the person who is in, the person is continuously knocking. So, busy waiting solution, why the person is wasting the time? Why shouldn't the person knock once and see that the dressing room is busy and go and sit somewhere? When the dressing room will be free, he will be informed that the dressing room is free and finally he can enter. So, that will be a good scheme or the better scheme in that sense. So, whenever we are using the busy waiting solution, in which whenever the critical section is busy, the process keeps on checking whether that process can enter in the critical section or not, meaning that it is a wastage of the CPU cycles we are keeping the CPU busy, or we are wasting the CPU cycles to check these statements again and again. So, the process will be checking the statement of the entry, or process will be checking the entry condition for entering in the critical section continuously, and the CPU will be continuously busy in these operations. So, let us have a discussion about the other solutions which may be there, and let us see the without busy waiting solution, and let us take the example of the bounded buffer. That is the most popular example that we can take, and we can this will actually help in explaining the concepts also very well. So, here is the busy waiting without busy waiting solution for the bounded buffer problem. The bounded buffer problem means that we have a buffer in which a producer problem will produce an item, will keep in this buffer, and the consumer problem will take the item from the buffer itself for consuming it. So, let us say there are n slots or 100 slots here in this buffer. So, n is 100, it is just an assumption, it is not like we are taking 100 only for all the solutions. So, depending on the requirement you can set the buffer. So, let us say there are n slots or the 100 slots in this buffer, and the number of the elements here in this buffer is equals to 0 initially. So, n is 100 means we have 100 free slots, count to 0 means we have 0 occupied slots. As soon as the producer process produces an item, that item will be kept in the buffer, hence the counter will be incremented by 1, fine. So, let us see the solution to the consumer problem. In the consumer problem we say that while the condition is true, if the count is 0, this is the consumer problem. Let us see, if count is 0, it means that a consumer problem cannot consume an item from the buffer, there is no item in the buffer at all. So, if consumer process sees that the count is 0, it should go and sleep somewhere. Okay. So, if count is 0, let us go to sleep, but if count is not 0, the statement number 2 for this, let us mark the statement numbers. Let us say the statement number 1 is statement number 1 says that we will check the condition or the number of the elements in the buffer. So, this is 0, so this it will go to sleep, the consumer process will go to sleep. But if the statement number 1 is not true, we will go to the statement number 2. This is like we are removing an item from the buffer and putting it there in the item. This is something like we are accessing to the queue. So, this is the dequeue operation in the queue, deletion of an item from the queue. So, an item has been removed from the queue and has been kept in some variable, let us say item. And after this, since we have consumed an item, so the number of elements in the queue should reduce by 1. If earlier it was 6, it should reduce to 5 now. If earlier it was x, it should reduce to x minus 1. So, after this, after consumption of the items, let us say we have, or let us understand it like this, let us say this is the queue, and in this queue there are n elements and count is also equals to n. So, count equals to n means we have n slots which are busy. Okay. So, there is a producer process also. If let us say producer process produces an item and wants to keep it in the buffer, it cannot do so because the buffer is completely full. So, if already n slots are there in the queue, the producer process will go to sleep, fine. So, hence if there were n items and the consumer process has consumed an item, so the number of items in the queue or number of items in the buffer will become to n minus 1. If it is n minus 1, it means there is one free slot. So, if there is one free slot, the producer process can produce and keep its produced item in that one free buffer. So, after watching that the count is n, the producer process will go to sleep. So, the responsibility of the consumer process is, if the number of a slot is one free or one free slot is there in the queue, let us wake up the producer process. So, wake up the producer in case the count is n minus 1, fine. Finally, consume an item. Let us see the solution to the producer problem. This is straightforward. The producer process says that, let us number all these statements 1 to 6. An item is produced. After producing this item, let us say we are keeping it in some item variable, and if the count is n, that already I have explained it, that if all the slots are busy, there is no free slot, there is no reason why the producer problem should stay alive, it should go to sleep. So, it should go to sleep for some time, okay. But if the condition is not true, the second number condition is not true, it will go to statement number 3 and will insert the produced item in the queue, and when it will insert the item in the queue, the count will be becoming equal to the count plus 1. Obviously, an item has been produced. If there were 10 items earlier, by producing an item, the number of elements in the buffer will go up to 11. Now, after this, if the count has become 1, it means, let us say this is the buffer, and in the buffer there were no item. So, if there are no item, count is 0. If count is 0, consumer will go to sleep. So, we have to wake up the consumer process if the number of elements is equals to 1. The first item has been produced, now the consumer process can take its role for accepting that item. So, wake up the consumer. So, this is the solution to the producer consumer problem. With the help of without busy waiting, we are actually allowing the processes to sleep and then wake up whenever the free slots are there or whenever the item is there for the consumer process. Now, let us say if count equals to 0 and there is a preemption after this, fine, then we are going to the producer problem. In the producer problem, let us say we are here. If count is 1, if count is 1, we are waking up the consumer. The consumer is not sleeping, even then we are waking up the consumer. So, let us say we have woken up the consumer. We have woken up the consumer. After this, let us say this statement goes. If this statement goes, the consumer process will sleep. Preemption, and after this the production of the items takes place, and let us say after the production of the items, the number of items becomes n, and if the number of elements becomes n, the producer will go to sleep. The producer is sleeping, and there is after this there is a preemption. So, the producer is sleeping, consumer is sleeping. If producer and consumer both are sleeping, there will be no one who will wake them. So, here we have seen a solution wherein the consumer process is waking up the producer and producer process is waking up the consumer. But here, if we are allowing the preemptions to take place in between, there is a kind of the deadlock wherein producer has also gone to sleep, consumer has also gone to sleep. So, there will be no one who will be waking each other. So, this is explained it here. If count equals to 0, preemption, consumer does not sleep. In line, if count equals to 1, wake up the consumer which was not sleeping. These are just written in lines what I have already explained. Resuming from the consumer process to sleep, after producing an items, producer goes to sleep, both the producer and consumer sleeps forever, hence the system is deadlocked. So, there is a problem with this. So, how can we resolve this problem? We can have the resolution to this problem with the help of the semaphores. So, semaphores are what? Semaphores are the shared variables. It can have the access to, or it can be accessed through the various functions known as wait and the signal. So, wait and the signal functions will be used for having an access to the semaphore variable. So, whenever we are checking the important conditions, or let us say we are having the access to the common resources or the common variables, let us lock that statement so that it cannot be preempted. So, though that can be restricted with the help of the semaphores. So, semaphores are the shared variables, and these shared variables are used by the atomic functions known as the wait and the signal. So, a wait function will check if the entry to the critical section may be there or not, and if we are entering to the critical section, it makes changes to the semaphore value. Similarly, when we are exiting from the critical section, the signal function will update the value of the semaphore such that it can allow the other processes to get in. So, the semaphores are the shared variables, and access to the shared variable is possible only in the kernel mode, not in the user mode. Since we are allowing in the kernel mode, it means the preemption is not possible, and these semaphores can be accessed through the wait and the signal variables only. Now, there can be two types of the semaphores. One is known as the binary semaphore, another one is the counting semaphore. Let us say we are saying that we are allowing only one process to enter in the critical section at a time. So, it means that we should use some kind of the semaphore that only allows one process to enter in. So, let us take a semaphore value as 1, or 0. 1 means the entry to the critical section is allowed, 0 means the critical section entry is not allowed. But in case we want that multiple processes to come into the system, for example, there are 4 printers in the system. So, obviously 4 processes can access to those printers. So, there we will be using the counting semaphore. So, if there are 4 printers, the semaphore value will be initialized to 4. So, we have a counting semaphore and then we have the binary semaphores. Now, this is the simple solution which is a busy waiting solution for the semaphores. In this what we have done, this is a wait function running in the kernel mode, this S is the semaphore value. So, if the value of S is less than or equal to 0, entry to the critical section cannot be there. So, semicolon means busy waiting, it will keep checking if the value of S is less than or equal to 0. If the value of S is 1, it means the entry to the critical section may be allowed here, but before entering to the critical section, let us decrement the value of the semaphore to 0. Fine. So, while entering into the critical section, in the entry condition we have actually executed this wait S statement. S was initialized to 1, let us say, and while entering it has just checked if the value of the semaphore is less than or equal to 0. If it is 0, it means the entry to this critical section is not allowed. So, it will keep waiting until the value of semaphore becomes 1. Now, when the entry of semaphore is 1, it can have the access to the critical section, but before that it will be decrementing the value of the semaphore from 1 to 0. Fine. Now, the critical section execution takes place, and after that the signal is called which increments the value of the semaphore from 0 to 1. Okay. Here in this case the value of the semaphore was reduced to 0 from 1, and here in this case the value of the semaphore is increased from 0 to 1, such that any other process which is interested in coming to the critical section comes in. So, this is the semaphore, and we will see the implementation of the semaphore on the next turns. We will see that how can multiple processes can come into the critical section at the same time. The down and the up operation or the way to the signal operations. This is the reference for this lecture. Thank you.